y'all, this is Billy from Perma Pastures Farm. As you can tell by the title, we are going to make potting soil. And better still, we're going to make it out of the 18-day compost that we made a little while ago. So go back and watch that video if you don't know how to do it. You want to have a good understanding of how to make compost before you go making something like this. Now let me just step back a minute and explain why we feel the need to do it. Anybody out there, if you've bought, let's say, bagged potting mix or even bagged compost, or the ground soil, or any number of things they have out there, amendments or otherwise, you've almost certainly noticed that over the last 6 months, the stuff has become garbage. I know a couple of people that have gotten entire dump trucks full of what should have been high quality compost, only to get it back to the house and find out that it's missing nitrogen, like all of the nitrogen. In some cases, no phosphorus. I mean, it's extraordinary what's going on right now. So that's why we feel the need to show folks. We've done this numerous times. We just didn't appreciate the number of people out there who could really use this information. So with William being the compost master on this property, you know, we're taking all that stuff and bringing it all together to break it down to show you how to make potting soil. Okay, so let's talk about the components. Earlier today, because the bees are still a little bit agitated, which is a video in and of itself. The bees are a little bit agitated because we took their honey. And so we went down a little earlier this morning and picked up some buckets of some compost, of the finished compost. Now keep in mind, folks, if you're going to use this in your garden, what you see right here is perfectly fine. In fact, you shouldn't sift it, in my view, if you're going to use it in the garden. You're going to need, and you're going to want all this structure, and it's going to continue to break down. But because we're going to be using it for potting soil, we're going to want a finer mix. And we're going to show you how easy that can be. Okay, so what we got here is basically finished compost. Okay, because this stuff is a little bit wet, we've had a little bit of rain over the last couple of days and it sat for a little bit. We're going to do one of two things. We're going to sift it first. Now, these are not single-use tools here. And there's other methods out there where you can make boxes. But we're using basically the chute gates in the permaculture barn down there as a means to sift this compost. We got this on here basically to keep the pigs from grabbing a hold of it and getting out of there whenever they're in a different stall. So we got some that has 1/2 inch hardware cloth, and this is going to be the finer version. This is what we want, the 1/4 inch, to start seeds. So it's really that simple. All we've done is taken some tie wraps or some zip ties, tied them to this this pig fence, and that's really it. Now you can make a box out of square, wood, whatever, and sift it that way. It's really up to you. So all we're going to do is, because this stuff is a little bit clumpy, we're going to start with this 1/2 inch. We're going to sift it through, collect it, and then we're going to run it through this 1/4 inch. We could probably do that all through the 1/4 inch right now, but we're going to make it really, really simple for ourselves. We'll get that done, and then we'll come back and explain what the next part of the process is. And folks, don't forget also, for anybody that's interested out there, we do have comfrey for sale, and we also have t-shirts for sale. You can see the t-shirt sales right at the bottom of this video. And the comfrey, if you're looking for it, we got those comfrey roots. We got them at a good price, and it's available at permapasturesfarm.com. Okay, let's get to it. All right, first thing we're going to do, like I said, we got our chute gate and we got the 1/2 inch. Just remember, just use a little bit. Now, you can go one of two ways. You can sit here and go back and forth like this, and it helps when you do have sides on it. But I'm not about to make a single-use item, so we can do that. And what's left over is going to go. I got a little Rubbermaid tote over here, using things that are pretty available to most people. We're just going to dump it into that. That's the beginning of it, okay? Okay, we're going to get through this, and then we'll move on. Remember, these big woody bits, don't throw them away. You can even use your hand if you want. This takes a little bit longer. In fact, let me take these gloves off, because honestly, there's a lot of research out there that shows that putting your hands in the soil. I use the gloves for a whole variety of reasons. Haven't really talked about that. That's probably a video unto itself. But you're also, when you're putting your hands in the soil, especially when you're in soil that's touching that ground, you'd be surprised how well you sleep better that night because of some grounding. Now, some people are going to say that's pseudoscience. They can say whatever they want. But I know that it works for me, and it works pretty well. So there we are. Run my hands through this stuff. Break it down. Now this woody material, I mean, it's still good. Like I said, this stuff can be used directly into your garden. But this stuff is a little bit wet. That's why we're using this. Otherwise, if it's dried out a little bit, could just go ahead and use a 1/4 inch. All right, here's what we got so far. It's sifted. That's through the 1/4 inch. I'm sorry, the 1/2 inch. And then we're gonna drop it on down to 1/4 inch. And this is what we have left. Now folks, we're not gonna be throwing this stuff away as you might suspect. We're gonna take all this stuff and we're gonna dress it around trees, could even put it in the garden. Like I said, if you're gonna use this stuff in your garden, there's no need to sift this stuff. I mean, I guess other people will tell you, you have to. I don't think you do, because you want that multiple structure in there. But this stuff, we need it around the trees. In fact, a lot of this compost that we're making will go around the fruit trees. So, with that said, we're gonna go ahead and put this stuff in a bucket and take this stuff, put it in another bucket, and then we're gonna run it through that 1/4 inch. All right, so now we've replaced the 1/2 inch hardware cloth. And like I said, these are chute gates that we use down in the barn. But like Alton Brown, I can't stand single-use things. So we ran it through, and this is what's left. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna put it here. Boy, does this stuff look fantastic. You're probably already thinking, it doesn't look anything like that stuff at the store. To which all I can say is, you're absolutely correct. So we're gonna run this through, and then we'll drive on. All right, y'all, we got the different stages here. I just want to point that out briefly. This is the first sifting. See how, see how thick that stuff is, but it's still fantastic stuff. Okay, here's the stuff we just sifted off. Still gorgeous. You see a little bit of eggshell and stuff in there that didn't quite break down. That's fine. But this is what we're going to work with. How about that, y'all? This is what we're going to make our potting soil out of. All right, so we'll get to that in a second. All right, y'all, here's where we get down to brass tacks. Okay, for starting seeds, your ratio is going to be 3 to 1, meaning 3 of this awesome stuff we have right here. So let's put 1. Here's 2. And we're going to make a real small batch here. 3, okay? That's our sifted compost. And of the 1, it's going to require sharp sand or builder sand, or let's say you got sand by a creek that you can get, or a river. That'll work too. So we're just going to grab 1 of those. Okay, there you go. It's all in there. Now we're going to mix it up. You might be asking, well, what about all the other stuff like perlite? What about this? What about that? Well, folks, that's why we make fantastic compost to begin with. This is stuff that you cannot purchase. I don't care where you go. It is not going to be anywhere near as adapted to your soil and your environment than the stuff you make yourself. Okay, there you have it. There, ladies and gentlemen, that is our potting mix right there. You could, okay, somebody would say, do you want to put perlite in it? Knock yourself out. Is it necessary? No. This is all we use. This is all we need to make it happen right there. Okay, so let's talk about if we're going to do trees, if we're going to start trees. Okay, in that case, like I said, when it's starting seeds, it's 3 to 1. 3 of your compost, 1 of your sharp sand. But when we do trees, it's going to be 1 to 1. So basically, 1 cup of this. We'll go ahead and put this off to the side. So it's going to be 1 cup of this. It's okay if it's a little bit lopped over like that. To 1 cup of this. Okay, there you have it. That's how we're going to start our trees. And this stuff, especially this stuff that we have here, is pretty darn fungal dominant. So yeah, trees are going to love that. So there you have it, folks. We got our seed starting mix here and our tree starting mix here. Isn't this just absolutely wonderful? Seems like you could put a big spoon in it and eat it. This stuff is fantastic. But the cool thing about this stuff, and the cool thing about visiting other places, is that William went to Australia to work with probably what I consider the best on the planet when it comes to permaculture and so many other things. And that is, I may be the permaculture pimp daddy, but Jeff Lawton is the pimp daddy of permaculture as far as I'm concerned. So this is where we learn. This is where these techniques come from. I mean, it isn't anything we invented. And there is nothing I enjoy more than giving credit to whom it's due. And I want to give a great shout out to Jeff Lawton and, Elaine Ingham, Mark Shepard, all these wonderful people out there, but specifically at this time, Jeff Lawton, for showing my son how to make all this wonderful stuff and how to bring it back here, and also how to evangelize it to all you wonderful people out there. So hopefully you can use all this stuff, and hopefully you apply it yourself. That's the most important part of all this, folks, is that you just don't watch us do it, that you go out there and do it yourself. Okay? So until next time, this is Billy, the Permaculture Pimp Daddy, where PIMP stands for Permaculture is my passion. We'll see you next time.